Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, everyone. I can tell that we're all accustomed to the chairman gaveling in. We're going to deviate a little bit this morning in that the chairman is traveling with the governor. As I'm sure all of us are aware that there was extensive storm damage, particularly in the south central and southeast part of the state, and that the governor has asked the chairman to join him today as they travel through some of the storm damaged area, look at restoration and some of the call centers. So the chairman has asked if I would chair the meeting this morning, but that does not mean that the chairman is not with us today. So he is joining us by phone. Chairman, can you confirm that you are with us this morning?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman, I am on the call and ready to proceed with public meeting. And let me also thank you for stepping up today to run the public meeting and express to you and our fellow colleagues, I appreciate the flexibility. This is as you mentioned, we have been dealt a very difficult hand with regard to the storm outages in South Central and Southeastern Pennsylvania. I want to commend everybody, technical staff, Dan and Darren Searforce, and all the representatives over at the state EPLO for what's been done in the last 48 hours. More importantly, Mr. Vice Chairman, I appreciate you stepping up and running today's public meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. With that, I hereby call to order the third meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the calendar year 2014 to order, and I'd ask that you all stand with me and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of this morning is our minutes from the January 9th, 2014 meeting, and Commissioner Brown, I believe you are the editor this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes from January 9, 2014 public meeting and move that they be approved as submitted.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Any objections? The minutes are approved as submitted. Good morning, Cheryl. Are we ready to proceed with public meeting agenda? Good morning.
Commissioners. Good morning. May it please this honorable commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with the matter on behalf of the Bureau of Audits. It is recommended that the commission adopt the staff recommendation to release the audit report involving the telecommunications relay service program for the stated years.
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? Any discussion? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
On behalf of the Office of Executive Director, it is recommended on behalf of the Office of Competitive Market Oversight that the Commission adopt the recommendation to adopt a tentative order that enhances the supplier presence on bills with the logo, as well as additional space, and also with regard to a shopping information box.
So moved.
And it should be noted that there's a statement by Commissioner Whitmer.
Second.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Whitmer for the purposes of her statement.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'd like my statement entered into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before the Commission is a tentative order containing recommendations from the Commission's Office of Competitive Market Oversight for making customer electric bills more electric generation supplier-oriented. Specifically, ACMO recommends the inclusion of an EGS logo on electric distribution companies' bills, the expansion of bill messaging space allotted to EGSs, and the inclusion of a shopping information box. These recommendations are well-timed as we now have more than 2.2 million customers who are receiving generation supply from a retailer. I agree with ACMO that successful implementation of these proposals will aid customers in not only developing a stronger recognition of and relationship with the EGS, but also importantly, increase customer awareness when participating in the competitive retail electric market. As a proponent of competitive markets, I applaud this effort and believe it's critically important that we continue to explore ways for EGSs to more directly connect with their customers. I look forward to reviewing the comments the Commission receives on these proposals. I'm particularly interested in reviewing EDC's responses on both the implementation costs and the recommended timelines. Notably, however, only well-supported information and calculations will be useful in determining the next steps we will take to implement OCMO's recommendations. Accordingly, EDCs are strongly encouraged to support their proposals and calculations with sufficient evidence to support their claims. In other words, WAGs are not helpful and will be viewed as such. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0, noting the statement of Commissioner Whitmer.
On behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, commencing on page 3 of the public meeting agenda, we recommend the adoption of the single item on page 3 with regard to the application of the Buffalo and Pittsburgh Railroad Company.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
On page 4, we recommend the adoption of the first item with regard to the amended complaint involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Yellow Cab of Pittsburgh.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Vice Chairman, I wish to be recorded as voting no. I would adopt the administrative law judge's decision in this matter.
So noted. Any other discussion? Any objections? The motion passes 4-1, noting Commissioner Colley's dissent.
In omnibus fashion, we recommend the adoption of the remaining item at the bottom of page 4 with regard to the proceeding involving Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania, Inc. versus Joseph Lucy, as well as all items appearing on page 5 through and including Ante versus Philadelphia Gas Works at the bottom.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
On page 6, with regard to the complaint proceeding involving Keisha Dorsey versus Philadelphia Gas Works, there was the motion of Commissioner Brown.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Brown for the purposes of her motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I would like my motion entered into the record. It simply clarifies that the legal standard to be followed in a petition for reconsideration. With that, I move that the opinion and order be modified consistent with this motion, and the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I'm going to be concurring in result only on this vote.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Vice Chairman, so will I.
Any other discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0, noting that Commissioner Whitmer and myself will be concurring in the result only.
On page 7 of the agenda, with regard to the first item pertaining to the informal investigation involving Energy Services Providers, Inc., DBA Pennsylvania Gas and Electric, there is a joint motion between you and Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'd ask that our joint motion be entered into the record as though I had read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today for disposition is an opinion and order releasing for comment and settlement agreement between the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and the Pennsylvania Gas and Electric. This agreement is a result of an investigation into alleged violations of the Public Utility Code and the Commission's regulations by PA Gas and Electric. By way of background, I&E alleged that an agent for the Pennsylvania Gas and Electric, along with an accomplice, attempted to illegally switch 319 accounts. Of those 319 accounts, 108 were successfully rolled with PA Gas and Electric for electric or gas supply service. The settlement agreement provides that the company will pay a $75,000 civil penalty and refund the entire electric generation or gas supply portion of the bills to any customer switched. The company also acknowledged that it made changes to its operating procedures to prevent similar situations from occurring in the future. Well, this is certainly not the first instance of alleged slamming that I&E has prosecuted. It is among the most egregious. Moreover, while any supplier could be the victim of a rogue employee or agent, we are troubled that Pennsylvania Gas and Electric did not appear to have any internal controls in place to prevent the volume of slamming that allegedly occurred here. Most offensive, however, is that the fact that PA Gas and Electric failed to self-report the violations. The documents filed with the Commission state that the company became aware of irregularities in its July 2012 and knew with certainty in August of 2012 that slamming had occurred. The Commission, however, did not have any knowledge of the situation until September 19, 2012, when PECO Energy Company brought it to the attention of the Commission. We have said many times that this Commission will not tolerate behavior that erodes the public trust in Pennsylvania's retail energy markets. Due to the severity of the allegations in this case and the company's apparent lack of mitigating actions, we move that the settlement agreement be rejected and that this matter be referred back to I&E for further actions that they deem warranted. Therefore, we move this morning that the settlement agreement be rejected and that the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
In omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the remaining item on page 7 in the complaint proceeding involving Gary Eckenrod versus PECO Energy Company, as well as the recommendations appearing on pages 8, 9, 10, and 11 through and including the interconnection agreement, the recommendation pertaining to the interconnection agreement of Verizon PA and DishNet.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
On behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, again in omnibus fashion, we recommend the adoption of the items commencing with the application proceeding involving the Borough of Downingtown at the top of page 12, continuing with the remaining item on page 12 and all items on pages 13 and 14 through and including the recommendation pertaining to the tariff filing of the Veolia Energy Philadelphia, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
Again, in omnibus fashion, commencing on page 15, we recommend the adoption of the items commencing with Global Montello Group, noting, however, that the recommendation that appears, the description of the company and its application that appears on page 15 should be modified so that reference to Allegheny Power is removed from the service territories in the application. That should be eliminated. But we recommend the adoption there, as well as the adoption of the recommendations pertaining to the remaining items on page 15 and all items on page 16 through and including the security certificate of the Newtown Artesian Water Company.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes as 5-0.
And on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge, we recommend the adoption of the Administrative Law Judge recommendations in the first two items through and including ALJ Buckley's initial decision in the proceeding involving Helen Lewis Logman versus PECO Energy Company.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
We recommend the adoption of ALJ Salapa's initial decision in the complaint proceeding involving EWC Holdings, Inc. versus the Philadelphia Gas Works, noting the joint statement of Commissioners Brown and Cawley.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to recognize Commissioners Cawley and Brown for their joint statement.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Wish that this statement be submitted for the record, and would just like to highlight some additional points. Commissioner Cawley and I agree that the Commission lacks subject matter jurisdiction over municipal liens, but we disagree with the ALJ's private contract theory because the features of the landlord cooperation program are so intertwined with PGW's provisions of public utility service. Moreover, we believe that the program, although voluntarily provided by PGW, falls within the ambit of Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code, which requires public utilities to provide reasonable service. That being said, we agree with the dismissal of this matter based on the fact that the complainant did not clearly allege any problem over which the Commission has jurisdiction, for example, poor customer service on PGW's part. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0, noting the joint statement of Commissioners Cawley and Brown.
Mr. Vice Chairman, that does conclude the presentation of agenda items, there being no carrying agenda.
Any other items to come before the Commission this morning?
No, Mr. Vice Chairman.
If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Vice Chairman.